Deep within the folds of the elderwood there lay a secret. It was a place seldom found by wandering feet, you understand. Sunlight struggled to push through the ancient canopy above. Great wise trees, older than any story, stood like silent guardians there. Their roots delved deep into the earth's old mysteries, holding the ground firm. Moss grew thick upon their gnarled bark, a soft green carpet for tiny forest creatures. The air was still, holding secrets untold for many long centuries. Only the gentle whisper of leaves disturbed the profound quiet of this hidden place. This was the path, if you were lucky enough to find it, to the Heartstone Spring, a place of true magic and important reflection. At the very heart of this ancient wood was a small, sun-dappled glade. It was a circle of perfect peace, untouched by the noisy world outside. Wildflowers grew in patches of bright color, nodding their heads in the gentle breeze. The only sounds were the hum of bees and the occasional song of a hidden bird. Around the edge of this clearing, smooth stones lay in a ring. They were not ordinary stones, for they seemed to hold a faint, warm light within them. This glade was a sanctuary, a place where the world felt young and new. It felt as if time itself moved differently here, slower and more thoughtfully than in the bustling village nearby. In the precise center of this magical glade rested the Heartstone Spring. Its waters were clearer than any crystal you might imagine. They bubbled up from the earth, cool and inviting, yet with a strange, faint luminescence. It was as if liquid light pulsed gently from the depths. The spring was not large, perhaps no wider than a child could stretch their arms. Its surface was usually calm, like a perfect mirror reflecting the sky and the trees above. But this was no ordinary mirror, and the water was not for an ordinary thirst. It held a very special kind of magic, a magic of truth. You see, the Heartstone Spring had a unique gift, a rather serious one. It was said by the old folk that its waters reflected not your face, but your truest self. It showed the real nature of a person, the contents of their heart, plain for all to see. The glowing stones that encircled it were part of this magic, humming with a soft energy. They say the stones would grow brighter for a kind soul and dimmer for one with a hidden shadow. Many had heard tales of the spring, but few dared to seek it. For looking into one's own heart is not always a comfortable thing, is it? Now, in a village not too far from this ancient forest, lived a young man named Jaren. Jaren was known throughout the village, not for his quiet deeds, but for his loud words. He had a great talent for speaking, and he often used it to boast. He would tell tales of his supposed bravery, his cleverness, and his many great plans. Some of the younger villagers listened with wide eyes, quite impressed by his confidence. The older, wiser folk, however, would often shake their heads and smile knowingly. They knew that words, like leaves, could be carried easily on the wind, meaning little. Jaren, however, believed his own tales most of all. Jaren had a particular ambition, a grand design that occupied his thoughts day and night. He wished to marry Ilara, the village elder's daughter. Ilara was as lovely as a summer's morning, and her heart was known to be kind and gentle. Jaren imagined that if he, a man of such proclaimed importance, were to marry her, his status would be secured. He thought himself a fine match, far better than any other young man in the village. He believed his grand speeches and confident air were sure to win her favor eventually. He just needed a way to prove his exceptional nature beyond all doubt. One day Jaren overheard two old women whispering about the Heartstone Spring. They spoke of its power to reveal a person's true essence. A spark ignited in Jaren's mind. This was it. This was the proof he needed. He was convinced that the magical waters would reflect his inner greatness for all to see. He pictured a magnificent heroic image of himself shimmering in the spring. He would describe this glorious vision to the villagers and to Ilara. Surely then everyone would recognize his worth, and his boasts would be seen as simple truths. His path to marrying Ilara would be clear. So Jaren decided he would journey to the Heartstone Spring. He announced his intention with much fanfare, declaring he feared no truth the spring might show. He polished his best boots and combed his hair with care. He imagined his triumphant return, the awe in the villagers' eyes. He would describe the brilliant light, the noble figure in the water. He felt a thrill of excitement, absolutely certain of a favourable outcome. The spring, he thought, would simply confirm what he already knew, that he was a truly remarkable individual, destined for great things and for Ilara's hand. Jaren set off for the Elderwood with a confident stride. He hummed a jaunty tune as he walked, his mind filled with images of his impending glory. When he finally found the hidden glade, he did not enter it quietly. Oh no! Jaren strode in as if he owned the very trees themselves. His chin was held high, his chest puffed out. He wanted the forest, the glade, the spring itself to take notice of his grand arrival. He felt immensely important, the hero of his own unfolding story. The birds, startled by his noisy approach, fell silent in the ancient trees above as Jaren swaggered towards the Heartstone Spring. A subtle change occurred in the glade. The smooth, glowing stones that ringed the water seemed to lose some of their luster. Their warm light dimmed, as if a cloud had passed before a gentle sun. The air, which had been mild, grew a little colder, carrying a sudden chill. Jaren, however, was too preoccupied with his own magnificent thoughts to notice these small, significant warnings. He was focused only on the reflection he expected, the affirmation he craved. He reached the edge of the spring, a self-satisfied smirk upon his lips. He leaned forward, full of eager anticipation, and peered into the waters. But what he saw made him gasp and stumble backwards. There was no glorious light, no heroic figure looking back at him. Instead, the water swirled with dark, murky colors like a troubled, muddy pool. Within the depths, a shifting, unclear image formed. It showed a small, rather frightened-looking person cowering behind a wall of big, empty words. It was a picture of his boasts, hollow and frail. Jaren's face turned pale with shock and shame. The spring had shown him his true, unadorned self, and it was not grand at all. Later that same day, another villager approached the Elderwood. Though her purpose was very different, this was Lyra, a young woman known not for words, but for her gentle actions. She was humble and unassuming, always ready with a helping hand or a kind smile for those in need. She never boasted of her goodness. Indeed, she hardly seemed to notice it herself. On this particular afternoon, she was not seeking glory or self-reflection. She carried a simple wooden bucket, for she was on her way to fetch fresh water from the Heartstone Spring for Old Man Hemlock, her elderly neighbor, whose well had run dry. Lyra entered the hidden glade not with a flourish but with quiet footsteps. She moved with a gentle grace, careful not to disturb the sleeping wildflowers or the busy insects. The ancient trees seemed to welcome her, their leaves rustling softly, like a sigh of contentment. The birds, which had hidden from Jaren's loud approach, began to sing their sweet melodies once more. Lyra paused for a moment, taking in the peaceful beauty of the glade, a small grateful smile touching her lips. She felt the calm of the place settle over her like a warm shawl. She was here on a simple errand of kindness. As Lyra neared the Heartstone Spring, the smooth stones encircling it began to react. Their light, which had dimmed for Jaren, now grew brighter and brighter. They pulsed with a warm, welcoming glow, casting a soft golden light across the entire glade. The air itself seemed to grow warmer, filled with a gentle, comforting energy. Even the water of the spring seemed to sparkle with anticipation. Lyra, unaware of the magic focusing upon her, simply felt the profound peace of the sacred place. She was there to help another, and that was her only thought. She knelt carefully by the edge of the spring, placing her wooden bucket beside her on the mossy ground. She then leaned forward to look into the water, perhaps expecting to see her own ordinary reflection, but the Heartstone Spring had a different vision to share. The water became wonderfully, astonishingly clear. It did not show her simple face, but shone with a soft, pure golden light like captured sunshine. Within this beautiful radiance, it reflected a heart brimming with kindness. It showed countless small, selfless acts, moments of quiet compassion, all shimmering like sunlight dancing on clear water. It was a truly lovely sight to behold. And so the Heartstone Spring revealed Lyra's true nature, just as it had revealed Jaren's. Her simple goodness, her unassuming generosity, her quiet strength, all were made visible in that magical light. The ancient forest itself seemed to breathe a sigh of approval, the leaves whispering their assent. For the Heartstone Spring, you see, possesses an ancient wisdom. It knows that the true value of a heart is not measured by loud boasts or grand ambitions. It is shown in quiet acts of kindness. Words can easily deceive. They can build false images, but the true nature of a soul shines clearly for the quiet eyes of nature to see and cannot be hidden for long.